Hi and welcome to Valhalla Games Podcast, episode 21. This week I have a very, very special guest. That guest is Dan. Yes, Dan is back. We chat hobby, what we've been up to, what we've been reading, we've been making, painting, lusting after, and we also have an extended chat about making scenarios. So stick with us. Back after the break.
Okay, welcome back, dear listeners, to the dulcet tones of my voice and the usual entertaining sound of Rex's voice. He's Sans interviewee this time. All he's got is boring old me. How are you, Rex?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I'm good. It's good to have you back, Dan. I missed you. There was nobody else that would listen to my whining about what paint colours what and, you know, what's going on and, you know, what's going on in the world of miniatures and how I don't have enough time to do anything. So only you would put up with that, so I appreciate you being back.
All right, it's good to be back, but hey, I hope the viewers enjoyed the episodes you did without me as much as I did. You did a great job, and thanks to everyone who came on, and we're going to have more people to interview in the future, so it's not just me and you, Rex?
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun, actually, and I learned a trick, you know, when you're in podcast land and you're trying to struggle to come up with some intelligent thing to say. If you interview someone else who's an expert in their field, because everybody's an expert in talking about themselves, all you have to do is just say, so tell me about yourself. And then that's it. They're off. And that's 15 minutes. You can go make a cup of tea, come back. Yep, you're all good.
That's great. And the knowledge and the passion of the people you had on really came through. And I'm looking forward to just getting more people on.
Sounds good. So why are you back, Dan? I thought you were off in military land.
Officer training land. Well, I was in Waiberia, which is our nickname for Wairau in the central plateau of North Island there. And I was doing really well in the first part of the training, the first term, I guess you'd call it. And yeah, so we got sent on a run, as you do, because somebody did something wrong, and I fell over, overtaking...
Running up Karahi.
Yeah, that's what happened as well, yeah. Well, actually, it wasn't Karahi, it was a little thing called Pimple. It was it's this little sharp inclined little hill in the middle of nowhere. But so there I was, and I was overtaking some people, as you do, and I tripped over in some roots of some heather on the ground, and I fell into a dip in the ground. I would say I fell flat on my face, but I didn't. I was completely unprotected, but actually my torso was in a dip and my head was up and my feet were up. So what happened was impact straight on my groin and stomach area. I probably should have stopped there, Rex, but I didn't. I carried on going for another week, as you do, because we had a week left in the field, doing fire manoeuvre and digging trenches and all that sort of stuff. And then on the last day, as we filled in our trenches and waiting for our transport the next day, so we're doing sort of post-exercise admin, I went to the medic, and the medic said, "Oh, what does it look like?" Because I'd already reported to him at the time, and he said, "What does it look like?" And I said, "Oh, I haven't really had a look," and had a look. Anyway, cut a long story short, ended up at ER, and then a scan, and then a scan, then an ER. So yeah, I gave myself what we thought at the time was 2 hernias, just above my nether regions there from the impact trauma, and it turned out to be 3 hernias, and then it turned out to be 3 hernias, and because I'd kept going, I'd been protecting my stomach, so I've been doing fire movement and stuff, like throwing myself down on my elbow a lot, and I'd fractured my elbow as well. So yeah, that's what happened, and subsequently I finished the part of the course I was on, but then I wasn't allowed to continue despite my protests, and the army said it was too much of a risk there, so they sent me away back to my old unit to recover, and I get to go back again next March and start off where I left off, which is pretty good, and I really appreciated that, because that's not normally given out, that sort of thing. You normally start again right from the very start again. So
Yeah, that's a sad story, Dan. Thanks for filling me in on that. Yeah, I actually got more in the podcast than you've given me in the last month or so since you've been back. So yeah, thanks for that expanded version.
Yeah, so I had my operation, all three hernias all at once. That's 3 weeks ago now, 3 weeks and 2 days ago, and I'm in rehab now for my elbow as well. The bone damage is not hurting me; it's sort of cleared up. It's sort of tendon damage. Ironically, from that injury, I've got like tennis elbow. What a great description for what I was doing at the time. And yeah, so it's just rehab now, getting myself back into it. So I've got a pretty hardcore course I want to get on to in about 4 weeks' time, 4.5 weeks' time. So yeah, just trying to convince the doctors that I'm going to be fit enough to go on that, so they give me a medical waiver and I can go on it.
Well, I hear it's a hardcore course. I hope they don't press on the sore bits, and otherwise you'll be in trouble. But thanks for that. Thanks for that filling us in on it. So you kept on going though. So you remembered what I said about remember what Roy Benavides would do.
Yeah. My intestines weren't hanging out in my hands, but they were coming through bulges in my stomach muscles. Yes.
All right. So for those of you who don't know Roy Benavides, maybe we should put that video up on a YouTube channel, Dan. I actually edit it down and try to improve the sound quality.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I think, ladies and gentlemen, just go and if you're interested, go and search Master Sergeant Roy Benavides. It's a fantastic tale. So yeah, go and have a look. Right. And he's and I am nothing in the same ballpark as him. Trust me. So yeah. Flattering of you to say, Rex, but man, that guy's in a league of his own.
All right. So while you've been sitting around doing not much, then you got any painting done?
Yeah, actually, I sort of have. It was really bad for me to sit for quite a while, so I was lying down whenever I could. So lying down is not particularly conducive to painting. However, I have been busy. I posted a YouTube post up on our YouTube clip up on our page. So I did a bit of scenery, painted the Luftwaffe. Field Division Squad, bits and pieces here and there, just stuff I had sitting around. But now I've really put myself to work, Rex. I've been working hard on painting some Volkssturm, and what I did is I got the Soviet People's Militia Squad. And from Warlord, magnificent sculpts, and so that my Volkssturm all didn't look the same, I got them and I sculpted some armbands onto them, some Volkssturm armbands. There was a couple of models that I just thought were too archetypical, is that a word? Of the of the Soviet sort of farmer sort of guys that might be in that militia squad. I removed them from the squad. I painted them, but they're not going to be in my end result for Volkssturm. And so I've ended up with a really nice squad. So I've converted a few models as well using winter German plastics from Warlord. A couple of guys in German army trench coats and a couple of guys just in, I guess, civilian trench coats with different cuffs. And I've thrown in a couple of models or a couple of bits from the Wargames Atlantic set of World War I Germans, a couple of veterans that threw their armband on so they can't be mistaken, and hit the streets along with some younger people, maybe of the Nazi party that weren't required to go to the front, maybe engineers and stuff like that, some younger youths and some older gentlemen as well, all trying to, defend their city and their way of life from the Soviet invaders.
No, fantastic. Oh, that's good. Well, I'll be looking forward to seeing pictures of those. And I hear you're painting up some British Commandos as well.
Yep. So I got a bargain set of old, not old, current, but old sculpts by Perry Miniatures from Wargames Foundry. So for $16 New Zealand, so wow, what's that? $8, £8, something like that. I got probably about £7 and $7 actually. I got a brand new in the blister set of British Commando Command. So I think there's about 8 models in there, including command models and dudes armed with SMGs and stuff like that. And you being a commando collector and you're doing some work for me, I thought I'd paint them up. And I have to confess I haven't started yet, but they are primed. I love the way that I've left that priming on there without starting them for multiple weeks, Rex, just to get that extra keying on there. Do you see that was actually my tactic?
No, that's good. Good. Did you wash your sprues before you did?
No.
But,
I'm not. I'm not going to wash my medals or my sprues, Rex.
You don't wash your medals either? Now you're telling me you don't wash your medals?
No,
really?
not normally. Not unless I've got that powdery sort of release stuff on it. No, it's only you, Rex.
I just can't believe you, Dan. What sort of a anally retentive wargamer are you and you don't do that?
I was going to wash the models, and then I decided to just carry on living my life.
Yeah. Yeah, well, thanks for that. I'm looking forward to seeing those too, particularly because they're for me. So, that makes me extra keen to see them. Hey, I bought you a birthday present.
Oh, that's generous of you since you're 3.5 months early.
No, this is last year's birthday present.
Oh, okay.
Don't give me too much credit. Yeah, I bought your birthday present up. It's actually packaged and ready to send. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You're going to open it on the next podcast, okay? Well, yeah, whatever podcast you receive it in.
Okay, sounds exciting, and I'm grateful. Thank you.
Yep, no, you're going to like it. Yeah, you don't have one. You've seen it, but you don't have one.
Oh, okay, all right. That does sound exciting. Yep. I like the way you said, setting the next pace, because I know that you're doing some work for me, and without giving the project away, I think you should maybe tell us all what you've been doing, because I've been managing to prevent you doing any hobby whatsoever, all of your own. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's pretty much. No, I've done a little bit besides that, but yeah. So we bought. Very exciting. I bought a 3D printer, and before you say it, this is not going to be a 3D print podcast. Okay, so just to be clear, I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna pull the Band-Aid off. We're going to rip into it now. We're going to do it. We're going to do it once, and then we're not going to do the whole 3D printing thing forever. Right? Are you ready?
I am ready. That's probably more entertainment value for our listeners, really, I suppose.
Yep. So I bought a 3D printer a while back, and I've done a little bit of 3D printing since then. Initially,
you've been really restrained in not saying this before now for the exact reason we just spoke about. So good on you.
Yep. So I've used up that filament. Filament comes in 1 kg rolls. I don't know how many meters are in a roll, but it's a 1 kg roll. And I've used up 8, 9, 10, 12, 14 rolls of filament since I've had the printer, which I think is about 4 or 5 months. It was just after you went.
Wow. Yep. It was.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was just after you went. Yeah, January. So yeah, so that's quite a lot. So apart from one major jam problem, and we're not talking ham and jam here, we're just talking jam. It's been running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, printing. And I've even got so far as to calculate out, this project, this job is going to take 5 hours to print. So I can't print that now, in inverted commas, because I'll be asleep when it finishes. So I need to get a job that's going to take 9 hours to print, so that at 0600 when I wake, I can change it over. So I'm really trying to maximize the whole print thing.
Well, but, luckily I've sprung upon the scene to capitalize on my brother being a computer guy and a person who's just bought a new printer and managing to provide you with plenty of 9-hour jobs.
Oh my goodness. Your stuff is just insane. So I printed a few Normandy buildings, right? And they're looking really nice. And I've got some photos, and I haven't actually managed to. Well, I painted a couple actually. I painted a church, and that came up real nice. And I painted another couple of buildings too. But my main Normandy village, I haven't really. It's just grey grey primer or grey filament colour. And I haven't really got much further than that. But your stuff, oh my goodness, it's just Dan. Sometimes I just shake my head. But you are paying for the filament, so you're paying for the postage too. So I hope you're ready for that when the bill comes in.
Yeah, the postage is going to be pretty crazy. Oh man. Yep.
So as you know, we've been painting. We've been buying 3D 3D models from Wow Buildings, who I interviewed on the podcast 2 episodes ago.
Yep.
So, I drank the Kool-Aid while I was being interviewed by him, and we went out and we spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars on all these things. But then, of course, you get it, and then you go, oh, well, we could print this little house. But then you go, oh, yeah, we could print this whole Stalingrad grain elevator. And it's, but then, the little printers that you get, little domestic printers, are only about 250 by 250 by 250. So, Dan says to me, hey, kid, do you mind printing this for me? And I look at it, and it's amazing looking building, right? And then I go, well, okay, let's have a bit of a measure up. Well, firstly, it's in 172 scale, so we'll maybe come onto that issue in a little while. So then you got to scale it up, and then it's too big, and then it's too small, and then it's like, and so once you get it the right size, then it has to be split into pieces. But me being the the IT guy that I am, if I'm going to split it into pieces, I need to pin it as well. So I need to make like individual pinholes to be able to combine it all together, so that it's going to lock in. You can glue it, or you can just use it, remove those pieces or whatever. And then so one of your buildings was six prints, the full size of the bed, and then I wasn't 6. So we're talking 6 48-hour prints just for one building. And then I wasn't happy with it, so I made a little 10mm base, as you've seen, just to raise it up slightly off the ground, because it just looked weird, looked like the bottom of the building was cut off. So I completely manufactured a new base thing for it with some ornate things, and extended the stairs out. And so that was another 2 or 3 days to print those out. A couple of days to print those out. So that's one building that took 2 weeks to print. And so, how many buildings have I done now? 1, 2, 3. I'm on 4.
So because they're so big, I think you've done 3 completely finished.
Is that all?
As well as some tabletop scatter terrain and accoutrement, and you're now on the 4th and 5th buildings.
Yep. And this last one, you say the best to last. It's just you slip that in there. Hey, I think I'm nearly finished. I'm getting it all in the box. I'm ready to ship it out. It's like, yeah, would you mind just doing this one for me as well? And I think you sort of gave me the 3D print job sandwich. You gave me a little bit of buttered bread on the bottom. Hey, how you going, Rex? Yeah, you're doing a really great job. And then you gave me the job, and then you finished it off with a nice little bit of buttered bread on top. Yeah, well, I just want to thank you, and it's going to be really nice. And yeah.
I'm a manager, Rex. What can I say? I'm used to delivering the crap sandwich to people.
So this one's 4 stories high. So each story, and by the way, it's in one piece. So not only do I have to split it, and there's no floors in it. So not only do I have to split it in the 3D model software, but then I have to add the floors in it at the appropriate height, making sure that there's room for a miniature or stuff inside. And then I had to join it. Actually, it was 2 pieces. So firstly, I had to join it. It was missing a wall, 3 walls. So I had to join it and add two walls. And then I had to add 3 or 4 floors. And then I had to split it at those floors. And then I split it again into 12 sections because it wouldn't print. Then I printed the first section. Then we worked out that it was too big, like it was too crazy big. So then I completely undid all of that, redid it again in 8 sections. So again, we're splitting it into 8 sections now at the floor levels, and then the whole thing in half, and all the pins, and oh my gosh, it's just You know, I said I didn't want to get a 3D printer because I didn't want another hobby, and I put it off for quite some time, right?
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, I'll just get one. It'll be fine. I'll just print stuff. I won't muck around with it too much. How'd that work out?
Yeah. All right. So it's time for me to. You think the buttered bread has already been laid on top of the crab sandwich, but it hasn't.
Right.
But it hasn't.
Oh, you know, you're getting. Yeah, here you go, live, people, live. What is
you got
coming
this live?
next?
So here's the piece of buttered bread, mate.
Right. Okay.
So Rex, firstly, I love you like a brother. Secondly, right, I have to say that I've looked on enviously at people's 3D printing for years. I would never be able to get one. I'd never be able to work it. Just be a drama.
Yeah, you
but
don't
I've
have the
also
patience for it, Dan. I just intervention there. If anybody ever sees Dan wanting to buy a 3D printer, if you're a manufacturer of 3D printers or a seller or anything out there, if you ever see Dan, do not sell to him. It will not go well. He will not have the patience for it, and it will go nuclear. You will see the bomb from wherever you live.
Yeah.
The sky will light up with a brilliant flash. Don't look at the light.
I'm just saying I'm a Ferrari man. It's dangerous to keep a Ferrari in the red. You know what I mean? All right.
Yep.
So here's my thing though, is that buying stuff as well. Buying puzzled me because I was like, how do you get something there? And I realized what it came down to is, how do you trust that someone's printed it in the right scale? I mean, this stuff's scalable. It's how do you decide that someone's done the right things to it and stuff like that? So potentially you could be buying stuff that then you receive it and you're still not happy with it after all that money. So Rex, without making you go into this entire thing again, I just wanted to say, here's the bread on top, the buttered bread on the crab sandwich, by the way. So here's the good part. So thank you. I would literally have never have been satisfied by anything anybody else would have done for me unless they were living right next door and they're happy with me going over and just going, no, I don't think that's right. And who's going to be happy with that? It's the fact that you're a wargamer. You playing the same games as me, the same systems, using the same sort of models, and it's the fact you're a computer guy and you're a perfectionist. It's all those things together, right? I'm just born under a lucky star. So thank you.
Oh, are you not going to give me another print job?
No.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right. I thought you were giving me the. All right. Okay. So that's the final piece of
hang
butter
on.
bread on top.
Do you want one?
I
can quickly go online and look at Wow Buildings Kickstarters and find you one. I will have other stuff because you'll still be printing this while Wow Buildings' new Italian Kickstarter, which is running at the moment, ladies and gentlemen. Get yourself on there. All right, it's probably still be running. It'll probably just finished by the time you're willing to pack that box, Rex.
Yeah, I know. Well, I've already decided I'm going to back it. So, and the good thing about Wow Buildings is that back at you immediately, like a week later, you get all the stuff, so you can start printing again. Yeah. So I've just gone and ordered another 9 kgs of filament. It's like $300 worth of filament. Okay.
All right. Well, I'm spending this next week that I've got off because the New Zealand Defence Force has given me because of all the hours we've worked recently. So I've got some days stand down. So I've got the next week off. So I'm spending that time finding Wargame stuff to sell so that I can pay for the work you've been doing. So
that's how desperate, is it?
That's how determined I am.
It's all right. My wife hasn't seen the money go out of the account yet, so you don't have to sell stuff. Just pay me when you can, man.
Well, while I got my minor feeble attempt at surgery, my mate Josh got a kidney removed. So I was thinking, all I got to do is I could do that. I could give a kidney. I could give a kidney, and I could get some money back, and I could pay for Ozpost to get that stuff to me.
The truth is, here's the truth, right? Firstly, I am enjoying it. I am a bit reluctant to give up all the time because the time. Oh, that last building must have taken, I don't know, about 9 or 10 hours maybe of software time before I even actually sitting in front of the computer working on it. aside from the actual printing. So yeah, it was crazy. But aside from the time that I just don't have a lot of time, I am really, really enjoying it. I'm enjoying using you as a guinea pig. I'm enjoying going through rolls and rolls and rolls of filament and learning what works and what doesn't, and just anything that doesn't work, I just throw it in a big box and I'm just going to weigh that and bill it to Dan's account.
Yep.
So it's been really great, and I've reached that point now. You know what they say? There's a saying out there where if you want to be a mini expert in something, go and read 3 good books on the subject. So if you want to,
yep,
do motorbike repair or something, you go and get 3 really good books on motorbike repair, read those through, learn them, and then you're kind of a mini expert on the subject. Well, there's no books you can read on 3D printing because the whole thing's changing so quickly in that. But this has really given me a heads up on what's what and what's not, and my skills have really gone crazy. And I was able to. Are you ready? You ready for it? You ready for this, Dan?
Yeah.
Ready? I was able to reprint a bin lid, like a waste bin lid, in the kitchen for my wife.
Oh wow! Was she stoked about that?
She was, and I designed it from scratch, and it's got all curves and like lugs and pins and locators and things. So I was able to build it, design it from scratch, and print it out. And everybody that comes to our house, she goes and shows them our bin lid.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, because it's one of those hideaway kitchen tidy things.
Oh, kitchen tidy. Okay, we won't go into kitchen tidy because no one else in the world knows what that is. In fact, no one outside the North Island of New Zealand knows what a kitchen tidy is. But anyway,
yeah, we'll tell that joke, that actual joke, that real joke, on another podcast.
Yeah. So anyway, so I'm really thankful you've done that, Rex, and so thank you. It's ongoing, but you have managed to fit in some hobby stuff for yourself. Thank God. Otherwise, I'd be feeling even more guilty. So go on, tell us what you've been doing.
Before we close off on the 3D printing thing, the other thing is too, we are we're a cooperative, and so the stuff that I'm printing for H campaign or F campaign, because we had Z and X and Y, and we moved on to whatever else. So we need a new letter to designate this new campaign, and when you get it all finished and all painted up, it's going to be fantastic. I'm really looking forward to that. So that's the modelling side. So you think the 3D printing side was hard. You wait till you get all these buildings that need printing and filling and striations removed and everything else. It's going to be really, really great. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And if I ever get to come over and visit you, I'll be able to play on your awesome tables. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. I see. I've got an idea. Sweatshops are illegal, so what I've done is I've set up a holiday program for art for kids,
all right.
And I've called it the Colorblind Hedgehogs Collective, and we're going to just paint buildings all together, like finger paint buildings. You know how like brickwork and everything could actually look quite good done in a childish way. So yeah, we're just going to do that. I'm going to charge adults to have their kids dropped off to me. I'm not really, but wouldn't that be a good way to do it?
It would be, yeah. Yeah, it would be. Yes, it's a good plan, actually. Speaking of painting buildings, that is about the only hobby that I've been doing, and that is by choice. So I've got all these new buildings, some which I got from OTP Terrain, some that are printed, some that I've got from various other places. And I've sort of said to myself, no more miniatures, no soup for you, until I get some buildings painted so I can have some improved terrain. So one of the things that I've done, which I'm very, very happy with, I think I've sent you some photos too, is I painted a red brick building with white mortar lines.
Yes.
And it's awesome. I think it's the best painting that I've ever done. It's just fantastic. Put a couple of trees alongside it, and it actually looks pretty realistic.
It looks really realistic.
Yeah. So I've done that. I painted a church, which I don't think I've discussed before. Painted
Rex,
a big,
have you
cathedral.
placed the painting guide for that up on our website, on our blog?
No, not yet. No, what I've actually done for the red brick building, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, what I've actually done is I videoed it as I went along. I videoed every single painful step. And so I've actually got a video coming to a YouTube near you soon on how to do it. But what I'll do is I'll go and I'll put some photos of it up on valhallagames.net in the next couple of days. So
Great.
actually, can you preview it, and then when I get a chance, I'll do the video. It was interesting because it took me forever to do, because it's got a wooden roof on it as well, like an exposed wooden roof. The only thing I've got to do yet to complete it is I just want to airbrush in or use some of that what's that powdery stuff? What do you call that powdery stuff Vallejo makes? Anyway, some powder black just for burnt, like as if it's been on fire and it's.
So literally just weathering powders.
Yeah, that's it. Weathering powder. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Very good. Black is really good. Yeah. I mean, there's all different colours, and the black's really good for soot, and the oxide looks perfect as well. So yeah.
Yeah, so I've just got to do that, but I'm putting it off a little bit because I've done such a great job. I don't want to ruin it now, so maybe I'll give it a try on a bit of something first. But yeah, so once I get that done, I'll take some photos and get it up on the website, and then I've got this video coming out as well. But the painting, because normally when we paint anything, we paint on the base coat and then we wash it. With a darker colour that goes down into the grooves.
Yep.
And then we highlight up highlight points. Well, when you're doing a building that has white sort of mortar, it's the opposite way. So I was thinking, how do I do this? Like, how's this going to work? So yeah, I ended up doing it, 10 different times, 10 different ways, but I've got it pretty quick and pretty good, and I'm really happy with the result. So I'll be pleased to share that with everyone.
Yeah, I, for obvious reasons, being about to get my building at some stage, I'd really like to see how you physically do that as well, because I've done it. I've got a method, but I'm not happy with it compared to your method, and I'd really like to see it being done as opposed to hearing what paints you used. And yeah, it's one of those things I think you need to see it be done. Yeah.
The other thing that I've seen, because I've seen a couple of YouTube videos and that myself of people, mostly what I've seen people do is use weathering powder, like what we just discussed. So a tan coloured weathering powder, and brush that into the grooves, and then set it with set it afterwards the same way you set weathering powder normally. But yeah, I couldn't really get that method working. So yeah, I got a good method. I'll let you know. And also too, the 3D print process doesn't necessarily. Sometimes it does, but they don't necessarily, on their models, have very distinctive grooves. Sometimes the grooves are just barely perceptible, and that's the same with MDF as well. If you get that MDF that's got bricks cut into it with the laser cutter, they're so fine that you can't actually get the weathering powder to sit in there very well.
Yep.
So yeah.
Right. Okay.
Another thing I did is I had a game. Had a few games there recently, actually, Bold Action. But
you've been playing every week.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, Ian, Wargaming buddies. Ian 1's invited me around to his house, and actually Ian 2. It's a pain when two guys get the same name. Ian number 2 invited me around to Ian number 1's house, and
is it like bananas and pajamas?
It is, yeah. B1 and B2. Yep.
Okay.
And then. Yeah, went around there and it's like, made sure I took wine and cheese, as you do first time you go into a stranger's house. Anyway, I think they kept inviting me back. I don't think they like me at all, but they enjoy my wine and cheese. So
nice. And I've only met one of the Ians, and he's a top bloke. So I bet you're having a great time playing.
I am, yeah, and he's got lots of terrain, lots of miniatures, and lots of game systems, and lots of enthusiasm, and yeah, it's been really fantastic.
Awesome.
But I had other wargaming buddy Nathan come around and play a game with me. His Soviets, with a few of my Soviets ringing in against my Germans. Haven't played my Fallschirmjäger for a long time, actually, and that was enjoyable. But before he came, I wanted to get my Normandy countryside.
Yep.
village kind of thing going. Have a nice new gaming gaming terrain, and so I did. I decided I got one of those supposedly roll-on foam rollers that has the texture for cobblestones.
Oh yeah. Did you print that off, or did you get it from that Kickstarter that you did?
I got it. I just bought it from OTP Terrain. I bought 3
Right.
of them.
Okay. Yep.
But if you use them on XPS foam, so normal hard foam that you use for modelling,
yep.
They pretty much don't make an impression. Might be okay on the expanded, the white bubbly stuff, but that's terrible. Wish that I'm my worst enemy. So I bought these things, supposedly foam rollers, and they don't actually really work.
Well, not on that, but they do on the product that you used, didn't you?
Yeah. So I thought, what am I going to do? So I decided, okay, well, I had half a thing of DAS clay. So I rolled that out with my rolling pin and gave it a roll on that, and it looked awesome. And then I came back the next morning, and it was bent up like a big banana.
Oh, so it did look awesome too. Yep.
So I thought, okay, all right, new plan. I'll stick it to something. So I had a piece of something there, and I got another half that I had kicking around. I rolled that out and put the textured roller over, and it looked great. I came back in the morning, and it was still curved up like a banana.
Oh.
So, okay, all right, that's fine. I'm not going to get discouraged. I'm just gonna go hard. And so I went to Bunnings and bought a Bunnings hardware store and bought a big thick piece of MDF, 6mm MDF. And I was like, okay, I think this will be okay because it's quite heavy in itself, and it'll probably be okay. So then I bought 2 kgs of the stuff, and I rolled out enough to make an entire city centre. So like the majority of a 6x4 gaming table. And rolled it all out, which was...
And it's all cobblestones on your roller, isn't it?
all cobblestones.
Yep.
So rolled it all out, and then rolled the cobblestone roller over it for my town centre. And I was really happy. Came back in the morning, and it's all curved up like a banana. So I already painted the MDF as well to make sure that it didn't absorb any of the moisture from the clay. So I agonised over it and took forever to try and get it right. So anyway, then I was pretty angry. I was pretty demoralised. And I was just about to throw it in the bin. I thought, I wonder.
Yeah, you were, yep.
Yeah, so I and it was the night before, by the way, the night before the game. And so I've got a table saw, I don't know I don't know if that translates to other countries, but a table saw with like an upside down circular saw in the bottom. You can adjust the height of that. So what I did is I adjusted the height so that it went 80% of the way through my MDF timber, but not into the DAS clay, the hardened DAS clay. And then I cut lines, crazy. I cut lines in a grid pattern every inch both ways on the entire back of this thing, which then took all the stiffness out of it.
Oh, wow. Yep.
And then I broke a piece off of it, but I very carefully lifted it up. It's essentially just like I don't know if anybody's ever seen those tiles that you can tile your kitchen or bathroom with.
Yeah, it's a mosaic.
Yeah, mosaic, where they come
on a net,
like
on a
individual
backing net.
1-inch tiles that are stuck to a backing net, and you can sort of hold it, and it's all drooping, and it was like that, and I was just going, this is a nightmare. So anyway, then I got another piece of MDF, just a 3mm piece of MDF, and glued that up and stuck this thing to the back of it in its flat state to work with the tension to try and reduce it from doing that. Put a couple of huge weightlifting weights on it, and came back in the morning, and it was great.
Wow.
So, that was a really long story, wasn't it? Yeah. Is there
it was a long story, but
actually
you've probably just helped people on how to make a nice cobblestone, town centre.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah, so...
I'm not saying it's the solution, but you certainly got there in the end.
Yeah. Then the only thing is it's about 8 millimeters high in total, so you have to accommodate that with your battle mat. But that's okay. I can work around that. But I think if I was going to do it again, I would actually do it on a piece of like gal, 1.5 millimeter gal steel, something like that. In itself, it's not gonna. I think that would be better, but yeah, probably end up with the same thing. But I think the proper solution is to do all that work, get it all perfect, and then actually just pour some mold material on there, and then flip the mold material over, and then pour the whole thing in resin. But that'd be crazy expensive. So that's only for really loopy people, not like me.
Not like you, no.
I'll be doing that soon. You'll probably want some of those too, Dan, for your undisclosed.
No. You're all good.
Sections.
You're all good. I wouldn't do that to you.
Yeah. Pretty can't 3D print something that big. Otherwise, I probably would have done that.
Yeah.
Not on my printer anyway.
But, well, I've been playing some games too. I've been playing games against a whole bunch of different people that all wanted to learn how to play war games and play. I'm starting with bolt action, and then when they've got like, this is how to play a war game, then I'm going to get into maybe teaching them some chain of command too. So,
that'd be nice.
Yeah, so I haven't been playing any games that I suppose have been really tactically challenging for me, but I can't be playing any that have been too tactically challenging for my opponent either, because they've walloped me a few times. So they're using the old sort of equal and opposite sort of forces on the table, and I've had failed multiple blimmin'. In one game, I got 2 foo-bars in a row where my units ran off the table, so that was entertaining. So yeah, I've just been getting in a load of sort of introductory games, and it's all investing in players for the future for myself, people who want to get into the hobby, even if sort of on a ad hoc sort of a basis, keen to play but not keen to collect their own army or whatever. But yeah, so all opponents for the future. I'm sowing the seeds, Rex.
Yeah, that's really great. That's really great. Yeah, I've gone from having no one pretty much to play with around, like directly around me, to actually having 4 people that are keen for a game kind of any time. So it's really great.
That's good.
So in my recent games, I've played the Soviets in a couple of games, and I played Germans in one. Couple of games I played against, or one game I played against Australians. They're
cool.
a tough side. They're a tough side to play against. They're really that fanatic and defense thing. I think I must be a like a close combat orientated player, because as soon as I get that fanatic and defense thing, if I'm not fanatic, because I draw the line against at taking the Stalingrad selector in a friendly home game. It just really puts me on the back foot, because I know, I can't assault them because they're fanatics. That's
but then you got to think of something else. You just got to shoot in the bits. So, get in some SMG squads.
Yes.
Get some SMG squads in there. Get your officer up there. Snap 2. SMG them to death, and then charge in with a third squad and clean them up.
You notice how those guys, anybody who's fanatic always likes to go and hide in hard cover, so that you can't actually shoot them. You're hitting on crazy high dice every time, and then you've either got to assault them to get them out of the building, or you've got to use your flamethrower squad, which my flamethrower squads never tend to be in the right place or the right time or last long enough to actually be any use. But a lot of fun for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have been playing lots of games. Sooner or later, you're going to get a scenario where those guys are going to have to be used offensively or come out of their cover. So you'll get your chance. Yeah,
I think the other thing too is that when you're playing a pickup game with someone, quite often what you do is you just say, mini engagement, just play that, and whoever kills the most wins. And that, of course, doesn't suit all armies and it doesn't suit all squads. We've had this combination before many times in reference to Kings of War, actually. But I think I need to start rolling scenarios properly, and having proper scenarios even for those pickup games, because that meeting engagement thing, it's not always going my way for various reasons.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, the ones that you didn't like to play, like, they're not all perfect. We know that for a start, but you're going to get to some event and they're going to play some of them, and you're going to be like, oh, I wish I'd played this a bit more. So you might as well just randomly roll and play them.
Yep.
They're not going to be always as satisfying as if you'd chosen that one that's is in key positions, but they're all going to be valid come the day when you have to play it at an event and you've practiced it at last.
Question for you: Do you ever just roll for like an attacker defender scenario for a pickup game like that?
Yeah, yep. So at our club, we quite often just roll a D12.
Right. Okay.
Roll a D12. So I keep a D12 in my dice bag normally with my little templates and stuff like that, and we'll roll a D12 and just literally play whatever scenario comes up.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, actually. I had never thought of that because, again, most of the time, if you do roll for it, for that pickup game, I've been rolling, just rolling on the first 6. What do they call those?
Yeah, just your basic missions.
Yeah, basic missions, because sometimes the others can be a bit complicated for a pickup game. But I think I'm gonna start doing that. I'm gonna force my opponents to do that.
I think the reality is that when you get to tournaments or events, they quite often have a game that isn't that basic, so you have to know how to do it. I think, because quite a few of the missions that we play are actually in the last 6, attacker defender, at events, so you might as well play them.
Yeah, that's right. I think that all that talk of scenarios is probably a good segue, Dan, to something that was near and dear to our heart. Shall we have a bit of a break, have a drink, and come back, and maybe we can talk about scenarios in some more detail?
All right, sounds good.
All right, we'll see you soon.
Fighting soldiers from the sky, fearless men who jump and die, men who mean just what they say, the brave men of the Green Beret. Silver upon their chest. These are men, America's best. 100 men will test today, but only 3 with the Green Beret. Trained to live off nature's land, trained in combat hand to hand, men who fight by night and day, courage take from the Green Beret. Silver wings upon their chest. These are men, America's best. 100 men will test today, but only 3 with the Green Beret. Back at home, a young wife waits. Her Green Beret has met his fate. He has died for those oppressed, leaving her this last request. Put silver wings on my son's chest. Make him one of America's best. He'll be a man they'll test one day. Have him win the Green Beret.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Okay, Rex, one thing I've noticed on the interwebs, noticed a lot of people talking about scenarios. We've got a lot of people out there. I guess it's only natural in lockdown that we've probably been thinking about our dream games instead of some faceless engagement. We're just putting guys on the table and trying to play a mission. We've seen a lot of people talking about their dream scenarios and what they're dreaming about, and I suppose it's only natural. What do you think?
Yeah, I've noticed that too. Before the whole lockdown thing, I thought I sort of was beginning to witness the death of the scenario, which was really making me sad. People were sort of talking about tournaments and events and more events. And people weren't sort of talking about scenarios. But I think while we've all been sitting around reading books and, watching documentaries and movies and thinking things through, people have got a lot more academic about it, Dan. They've got, they're really switched on. They're really getting into the historical thing of a historical, supposedly, war game. I don't know, what flicks your switch when you're starting to think about setting up a scenario?
Well, a lot of things, really. I suppose if we're going to talk about scenarios, I think there's a few people have talked about the mechanics of it, and so I'd really like to go into maybe where I get a seed for the scenario from, so where we actually get that from and where we look for it. If I was to probably point towards the main area I get them from, I probably do get a spark for a scenario from movies in some ways, in regards to a visual look that's been produced, and hopefully that's some sort of realism there, especially the older movies. One has to question some of the movies, that the background or whatever might not be in the actual area of the battle, or we might be filming somewhere in, Yugoslavia instead of Germany or something like that. But I think that films are good for those certain things, but I can't back away from a good book. How about you, Rex?
Yeah, I'm the same, actually. Often when you read the books, and we've talked about some of the books that we've been reading lately. The guys that research the books do it through a huge passion to be able to wanting to tell those stories. I mean, I guess they do in films too, but tell an actual historical story, and the whole fact is stranger than fiction thing. Sometimes they'll find one little kernel of an idea, and sometimes they don't even expand on it. But you'll hear, guy tries to shoot, Tiger Tank with Piet, and what happens there, kind of thing. And then all of a sudden, from there, that sparks off a whole kind of thought process in my head, anyway.
Yeah, I agree. It is often an excerpt, isn't it, of the book rather than the whole story, isn't it?
Yeah, and Anthony Beevor, one of our favourite authors, does that really well. He'll go right down to an individual soldier's letter home, and what they said in that particular letter. So it's actually first-hand information. And I think when you're playing skirmish games, when you're playing like Bolt Action Chain of Command, any game where you're playing with with a platoon of guys, it's those individual stories to some degree that you're telling, and certainly on the battlefield, it's the fate and fortunes of a small squad of guys, and whether they win or succeed on the battlefield. So to be able to draw on, not so much a whole campaign, this division moved here and this division moved here, and it's just marks on a map. But once you start reading down to those individual stories, then you start to get something that really evokes the bedlam of what was happening at the time.
Yep, agreed. I love obscure books. I think it was hunting in second-hand bookshops when we were younger with our parents and our mother and grandmother, probably, that there were so many World War II books out at the time, 70s, Purnell's History of World War II and stuff like that. I love obscure books. I love hunting in a second-hand bookstore, and I think, the time to buy something unusual is when you see it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, most of us as wargamers have a bit of a library, things that we're buying. I think wargamers are the ultimate optimists, really, aren't they? They buy stuff. You buy more books than you could probably read in your lifetime. But yeah, it's always good to grab something and just have it on the shelf and and all that. It's the thing that I find, being the job that I do and being a tech savvy guy, I do love ebooks and I love that sort of thing. But sometimes you'll get an ebook and you'll just I'll put it in that folder there, and then that's it. You just never see it again. So yeah, the books. But it's interesting. We talked about the reduction in the amount of the news agents in New Zealand for buying magazines. Certainly where I am in Australia, we're seeing a reduction in the second-hand bookshops. We've got plenty of magazine stores, but the good old second-hand bookstore filled with with military section is hard to find. But I know certain places have really good stores, and I think there's maybe that thing where you've got either a good one or none at all.
Yeah, agreed. So what are you looking for then in a book when you pick it up, Rex, for a scenario seed? Or have you got, something that you're looking for? I know that I have.
Well, somebody asked me this on our YouTube page the other day, not in relation to scenarios, but in relation to Army. He was going to do an American Army, and he was, he got the Band of Brothers set, and he was going, well, what should I get next? What should I get next? And I think he was more asking from a like a competitive point of view. And I had to just say to him, I just don't care about that at all.
Yeah.
I just look for something that says that that's cool. In a couple of minutes, as soon as we finish this podcast, I'm off down to buy a Soviet implement, is it?
Implement, yep.
Yeah, thrower, which I don't know if it's competitive or not. I haven't even read the rules, but man, what a cool thing, and it's bizarre. And so that's one of the things that I enjoy too about scenarios, and that is the weird and the wacky, and the the little engine that could. I'm not too bothered about balanced scenarios.
Yeah.
I just like something to say, well, what would happen if we had 5 MMGs all along this gully, and you had to get your guys through, and that, to me, that's the essence of wargaming. It's like, well, you have a scenario, you either use it as a general term or a specific term, but and you've got to get you've got to work out a puzzle. It's like back in the days when we used to do rock climbing. You've got a certain number of arms and legs and a certain number of whole things to hang on to, and you have to work out that puzzle. Which goes first? This foot goes there. No, that won't work. This foot has to go there first. And that's what the joy of it for me. So yeah, I'm looking for something that's difficult, probably unbalanced, to be honest, and something that's that adds some real friction, I guess, to use chain of command.
Yeah, good. Well, I suppose I think that as well. And when I look at a book to try and find a scenario that's going to provide that to us, I think I've drilled it down to about 5 things, I reckon. So shall I rattle off those 5 things?
You've got notes. Well done. Go.
Yeah, it was a mind map, this one. All right, so I guess, a book that might provide those things that you're looking for in a scenario, I guess, will provide a scenario seed, and I'm looking for, number 1, the unusual. Yep, and here I have, I'm thinking about something it really is a standout, unusual engagement, and I thought of each of these things. I tried to think of a wee example. So the example for this one I've got is the Castle Itter. Now, I definitely pronounced that incorrectly, so apologies for butchering it, but this is the one where the engagement where Germans and Americans fought against SS, who had a bunch of prisoners in the castle, including a French tennis star who assaulted Germans with his tennis racket or something like that. It's a truly crazy engagement at the end of the war, and I'll let people research it further because I don't want to ruin somebody else's scenario seed. But that's the type of thing that I'm looking for. Second one is a previously unknown engagement. So, as an engagement I've never heard of, and if I give it a look in, across people's blog pages or in the YouTube or something like that, if I'm Googling, I'm probably going to be able to find something about it, a thread, because if I've managed to find a thread, there probably is going to be a thread out there, but no one's really expanded greatly on it yet, and it leaves us room for us to do it. And that's always a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely. I mean, how many different ways can you come off the beach at Normandy? It's a great thing, and Tom Hanks did it probably the best of all. But there's only a certain number of ways you can do it, and it's a fantastic scenario. It's really been well done and well known. So if you can get something that's new and fresh, because the other thing that I like about it is it actually loops back on itself. So you read something. Talked about this before. You read something, you play a weird scenario, you introduce a buddy to playing a weird scenario where a guy's attacking someone with a tennis racket, and then that loops back to going, I wish I could find some more about this, and then that leads on to a internet search, which, as you know, the internet is a vast ocean of information that's only about 6 inches deep.
Yeah.
And then so that inevitably leads open to actually reading a book or researching it in a more thorough way.
Yep. So the next one I've got on my list is remarkably detailed engagements. So I guess I'm probably looking at an engagement at the sort of scale required. So something, is it like a skirmish size or something like that, or a part of the battle that we can zoom in on to involve the scale that we want? So 28mm, what size of a table does it have to be played on and stuff like that? Or because, as you know, we're not tied to a particular scale, is it going to make us want to collect and play at a completely different scale right from the off? To play that engagement or play that battle. A good example of this, I think, is, and this one will work in 28mm, is when I read the book Ausonia by Geoffrey Plowman, which is about the New Zealand division at Ausonia in Second World War. And that is a book that was fairly devoid of any grand sweeping outcomes and theories that came from it, and that could, I guess, change our doctrine or anything like that. But what it did have is it went really, really, really deep and down to the grassroots level of combined arms attacks, to the point where we've got 3 tanks attacking with a company of infantry, and it was really going into the details of exactly what happened to those tanks, the infantry, how they got bogged down, fighting against Fallschirmjäger or Panzer Grenadiers in ruins in Italy, and loads of detail there. So it's a sort of thing that, although it hasn't got any grand sweeping operational level or doctrinal level changes, it really depicts something that's going to be great for what we want it for, some in the flesh command challenges on the ground.
Yeah, and that brings on another point, actually, which we might go into after, and that is adapting scenarios to actually be playable in terms of ground scale and troop sizes and that sort of thing. So we'll come onto that in a while. But that's exactly right. You want something that has enough detail to be able to it not just be another meeting engagement.
Yep.
You really want to have some meaning and purpose to it, rather than being just taking some random crossroads. Not that that's not fun, but if you're going to the effort of writing a scenario, there needs to be a purpose, and there needs to be some friction to prevent you from that purpose. Yeah, that's good.
The next one is those command challenges that we spoke about. So, are we playing for that purpose that you've just spoken about there? And then the last one is, it's really got to be something I'm either passionate about now, or I feel compelled to keep in case of a future descent into madness. And a book that I found recently for $2 in a second-hand bookshop is one of those things I've kept on my bookshelf. And it's called The Edge of the Sword by Sir Anthony Farrar Hockley. Farrar the Para and I won't go into his illustrious history too much, but this particular book is a story of when he was the adjutant for the Gloucesters, the 1st Battalion of the Gloucester Regiment at Imjin River in Korea. I don't even play Korea. There's a bold action rule set out there, or expansion campaign book out there for Korea. I've never played it. But this book I was just compelled to pick this up because it's just got such good information in there by a guy who was, in the command post and stuff for that battalion during that engagement. That I was just like, you just can't walk past this for $2. I'm taking this home, £1.
You're definitely the guy that's singing the praises of the secondhand bookshop.
Yeah, but I mean, there's plenty of places you can find it online, find stuff online as well. A good online bookshop, and you deal with a few of these, don't you, Rex?
Yeah, on eBay. The thing is with eBay and that sort of thing, the difference between that and the beauty and comfort of the secondhand bookstore is when you walk in there, you just go to military section, unless you want something else, which I can't believe anybody would go and buy any other sort of book. But military history, you just go there and it's all there. Whereas on eBay, you really got to search for it, what are you going to search for? Military history? Well, that's probably not going to bring something up. I'm not sure that the categories are conducive to, there needs to be a category of books that Rex will like. But yeah, it's sometimes it's tricky. The other thing is the few secondhand bookshops that I have been to, I go in and say, oh, where's your military history section? And they go, oh, it's down there, but the books don't stay there very long.
Yeah.
So yeah, depending on the area you're in, sometimes it's slim pickings.
Yeah, for sure. Because I dare say that military historians, amateur historians of military as well, are pretty voracious readers and probably collectors of stuff. You really want to be lucky and walk into one of these second-hand stores when they've got an estate or something has come into them and they've just got like a whole bunch of them out on the shelf that no one's gone through. Those are the good days.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. So we've got a book, but we spoke about movies. Anything else? You get sort of scenario seeds from Rex?
Well, I quite like to watch military documentaries.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's a broad term, but a couple that I've really enjoyed, particularly enjoyed, by the guy, the Top Gear guy. Just can't remember his name now.
Jeremy Clarkson.
That's him. Yeah, he did two. One on a battle that his father-in-law was involved in, and the other one was the Greatest Raid, which is the British Commandos raid on what's it called?
Saint Nazaire. Yep.
Yep. So they were particularly good.
And his father-in-law, we won't. You've deliberately kept that a secret for people, so we haven't ruined it, have you? So they could go and have a look at that.
Yeah. I have, because that's quite an interesting story for sure. So you got those ones which are deliberately put together to be evocative. They've chosen. He's only ever done two that I'm aware of, and he's chosen the two craziest stories that you've ever heard. And so definitely give those a look, even if you're not writing scenarios. But another one that I've been going through lately is The World at War. So do you know that documentary series, Dan?
Yes, I do. Yep.
So it's a documentary series that was created, I think, in the mid-'60s, and they've interviewed, it's like 25 parts or something. It's crazy long. I had 2 or 3 goes at watching it, but never sort of managed. And now I'm just about to finish it now. But those things, because they're so old, some of the stuff and the people that they interview, they actually interview people that were, high up on both sides, and guys that were soldiers and guys that were tank commanders, and they have big long interviews with those people. And there again, you're getting first-hand information, and sometimes you can just get you just get a snippet of information. A guy says, "Oh, well, we were going for the high point, and the shell went straight through the tank, and we stumbled out, and and off we went and down." And just that tiny kernel is enough to sort of get you going. Or another one is Myrtle the Parachick.
Yeah. Yes.
So that that's. Do you want? So you being a para, Dan, do you want to just tell that story real quick?
So I believe Myrtle's owner was Lieutenant Pat Glover of the Parachute Regiment, and he had found this hen called Myrtle, and it took to stuffing it down his top when he went on parachute jumps during training. And as he reached the ground, he'd take her out of his smock so she didn't get squished as he did his power roll, and let her flutter to the ground as he hit the ground and did his parachute landing fall and got up and dusted himself off. And Myrtle even ended up going to Arnhem. So yeah, there's a story for you. And Stoicy's, excuse the pronunciation, Stoicy's Heroes, or Stoicy's Heroes, they actually sell a model of Pat Glover and Myrtle the Parrot chick, don't they?
Oh, I didn't realize that. For real?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'm doing an order. I've been putting it off for a long time, but I'm doing an order from them. There's a whole bunch of stuff I want to buy off them, but I definitely want that model.
Yeah.
So that's a fantastic. I mean, that's not going to make a whole campaign, right? But if you're doing, if you're doing a little, a scenario, what a great little weird thing to keep in. Myrtle the Parachick needs to make it to the bunker. Otherwise, full victory points go, and so you all of a sudden you've got cross motives. Not only do you have to take the bunker, but you have to also protect this guy, and all of a sudden you've got this real weird thing.
All right, so yeah, talking about that, like the snippeting, taking a snippet of something, it reminds me of Richard Clarke. He described it as tactical snippeting, where you take a snippet from one book and then you try and authenticate it against a snippet from another book and then a picture from another book and stuff like that, and putting it together to build your scenario. So that got me thinking, there must be a sweet spot where historical documents and recollection of individuals intertwine. So let's take World War II, because of course we've got all the media and stuff now. We've got archiving. We've still, until recently, we still have, thank goodness, some of the old and bold with us. But there must have been a sweet spot where their memory, where their emotional side, their memories sort of faded away, anger or passion about it, and it just became facts before it faded away into poor memory. And that must have coincided with books that were published, and also archives and stuff like that, documents being released, maybe, the internet coming on board, so that maybe not in this case. So, there must have been a sweet spot. Was it before the internet? Was it in the 90s when books with good clarity were published, secret documents and that were released and everything? I wonder what the sweet spot was for getting accuracy and recollection and documents from the Second World War. It's just interesting, isn't it?
It is interesting. And I know, the internet's brought us forward in leaps and bounds in some ways. But as I said before, my saying is the internet's a vast ocean of information. It's only 6 inches deep. But I remember, before the internet, if you're young enough to remember such a thing, we had the library at Carmo, Dan, that we used to go to every now and then after on the way home from school. It was right next to the.
There was at least one book on each subject.
Yeah, it was at least one book on each subject, and I wanted to find out about. I can't remember exactly what it was, but let's say it was sharks. So I would go to the library, and there was no books on sharks, but there'd be an encyclopedia there, and it had one entry, sort of like half a page or a page about sharks, just very, very general. And that was it. And if you wanted any more information on sharks, you had to spend $50 and get today's money worth, and to get a book that was explicit about it, and you didn't know whether it was a good book either because you had to order it in. So that access to information was way, way less then. But on the flip side, we had so many more first-hand accounts. So yeah, it's an interesting continuum, isn't it? I mean, I'm glad I don't play
dark ages to some degree, because, or maybe you don't have to worry about it so much in dark ages, because you just get frightening guys chasing after frightening guys with axes, and that's becomes less of a thing. You've got these general concepts, these guys invaded here, and all the battles and all the pillaging and burning of villages was kind of the same thing, perhaps. But yeah, I think World War II in itself is quite a sweet spot, isn't it? We still have people alive today, and we certainly are a lot more. We have the technology to record those people, so we have thousands and thousands and thousands and millions of hours of recorded video and audio, and people have written books, because all that stuff was easily accessible now, and we have a relatively high level of education, whereas a couple hundred years ago, it was a lot less documented. So, yeah.
I think this is one of the reasons why I find the American Civil War so interesting. I think it's because the level of literacy that had raised, and the amount of surviving documentation is quite big, and the amount of photographs that were taken of some really terrible photographs out there, terrible in regards to the subject matter, of casualties and stuff like that. And it's just because it was so new at that stage, they would take photos and record it in a very innocent way, just purely to record things, so they could show people, I was here, and this is what war does. And I just find it fascinating that we can look back at that stuff, and that can, combined with, I suppose, modern warfare coming onto the scene at the time, it's a very interesting time.
Yeah, when was the American Civil War? Just looking it up now, because
1860s.
Oh, there you go, 1861 to 1865.
Yep.
So that surely was one of the first conflicts where we had cameras that were widely available. Surely before that,
yep,
we didn't actually have cameras at all. I mean, obviously there wasn't video cameras then that we have access to, in terms of I don't know if there was video cameras then or not, but certainly we don't see videos of the American Civil War every day. But we do see lots and lots of photos. But you don't see any photos of, the War of the Roses, do you?
No. So that's why it's such a...
Paintings, though, I guess. So that's a whole new thing. So,
yep.
So there you go. As I've said before, being a wargamer, you learn a lot about wargaming. You learn a lot about plastic soldiers. You learn a lot about modelling. You also learn a lot about recording social history. So there's your lesson, people.
Yep. So we've got our scenario seed now. So we've got it from a book, maybe. Visiting a museum is another good place to get it. Visiting a battlefield is another good place to get it. Just very evocative places, and there's plenty of scenario seeds to be found there, or maybe a cenotaph with brothers' names written on it, or a particular regiment recorded in a particular part of a battlefield, or an action commemorated in a corner of a battlefield by a statue or a plinth or something like that. So all those sorts of things can help build up our scenario seed, can't they?
They can. And then you have step 2, which is, I guess, the abstraction.
Yes.
Is that where you'd go with that? Now, that's the bit that I struggle with, because I want to put all that detail in. I want to have all those guys in. I want to have a 20-foot by 10-foot battlefield and play it all in 15 mil, so they can get every single guy, and the ranges will be all right. But, of course, that's just not realistic for most of us. So where do you start with your abstraction?
Yeah, I suppose the first thing I do is I try to take those seeds and seek further confirmation somewhere. So take those snippets and try and, I guess, get confirmation that it actually happened the way it was, or get other recollections or other documentation to suggest maybe it was slightly different than that, or there's a fog of war situation there, and that can create a different feel to that potential scenario in itself. But I suppose the first things I like to do is I like to think, what do I want the scenario to depict? what is it about this situation that it will become a scenario that is the crux moment? So what is the testing factor for the players that are going to make it different or original or stand out from playing just a rulebook mission? Is it going to be a breakdown in command, maybe? Is it going to be the terrain? Is it going to be some overwhelming odds? Maybe it's the weather they have faced. Or maybe it's some other unusual forces that were involved or unusual factors. Can you think of any more, Rex?
Yeah, well, it's, as we've said before, Dungeons and Dragons, which we've played in the past and you're still playing now, is the ultimate campaign. So I quite often drift back to that for my inspiration. And we used to have, and I'm sure we still do now in the current rulebooks, but tables that you'd roll on for weather, tables that you'd roll on for wandering monsters to see if something unexpected would happen. And a lot of those things, still keeping with the historical side of the battle and what happened, you can pull in those things for friction and challenges and that. But I think for me, I tend to actually go too complicated and I have to keep pulling myself back. So we've had this discussion before about ladder scenarios, like an if-then type situation. If you do this, then, then you'll get scenario 2B. If you don't, you'll get scenario 2A. And, it ends up like a read your own adventure book. And it's sort of too hard to follow. So yeah, I can easily, and I keep wanting to add in everything. I want to add in all the things you said: bad weather, bad terrain, bad this, bad that. So I think you have to keep it in perspective a little bit. It still needs to be playable. You don't want it to take 4 hours to play a simple game as well. But yeah, all of those things are good, but not all at once.
Yeah, for sure. So that's why you have to meld it down, don't you? Those couple of factors, that are going to make that scenario different. So another thing is, what's the scale that it should be played on then? So if we're thinking about what's the testing factor, for the players, and what do we want the scenario to depict, what's the scale it should be on? So is it going to be big minis on a large scale, large table? Is it going to be large scale but small table? An example of that might be the excellent Tombstone series of games that Little Wars TV had not too long ago. Could it be did you see that one, Rex? It's lovely.
Yeah, I did. And the other one is that the Wizards in the Frozen Wastes, what's that game called?
Frostgrave.
Frostgrave, yeah. So a very small number of units that are on quite a small table. There's a lot going on and interplay, and you're sort of more moving into that kind of role-play-esque type thing, or individual unit type thing, like with the supposedly up-and-coming Warlord Games Raiders game book, where individual units start making decisions as opposed to being an entire army or an entire platoon or an entire division or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
So none of those things are bad, but they're quite. I think you do really have to work out what you're going to do, and that comes down to the abstraction thing as well. So if you've got something that happens over open terrain, 5 kilometers of open terrain, and then there's a village with a couple of hundred or 50 buildings in it, and they've got to get through the village to the bridge. Well, you're probably not going to play that out real scale for bolt action or chain of command or some other 28mm war game. So what you have to do is you have to abstract that to have your your small fields, and then 4 buildings, and then a road, and then a bridge. But you have to just make sure that you have clear in your mind what the point of friction is that this scenario is using, so you don't lose that. If that point of friction is the fact that they have to go such a long way to achieve it, while they're being outflanked, well then you have to think about a different way of doing it.
Yep, very much so. I guess other scales we talk about. There's going to be small minis and small tables, small minis and a big table. So all those things are going to add up, aren't they, to really what you're trying to depict, that crux part of it.
Yeah.
And another thing that's probably going to, I guess, have some input into that is, what's the scenario being used for? Is it going to be like a participation game at a show? Is it intended to be published for a mag or other publication, like a scenario book? Is it going to be a big game for a club? Maybe it's an anniversary game of a 75th anniversary of D-Day, for instance, or 100th anniversary, 200th anniversary, that type of thing. Or maybe it's your Christmas game at your club where you like to go big. Or is it just a game amongst mates? And those are good ones to maybe throw in a few more of those friction points than you might normally do, because you might enjoy playing it in almost a campaign-esque type way, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. Your target audience. Yeah, very good. Yeah, that's because if you and I lived a bit closer together, Dan, I'd be keen to play through some really detailed and long campaigns, and there's certainly nothing wrong with the ones that you buy. Some of the Too Fat Lardies ones are awesome and way more highly researched than what we could ever think to do. And the Bold Action ones and the Bold Action campaign books, some of those are fantastic as well. I'd love to actually play through an entire book, but I don't have a situation where I have a regular gaming enough to be able to actually achieve that. So for me, the campaigns that I'm going to write and design are more like one campaign or 3 campaigns linked together, and then off we go on to the next thing.
Right then, so next factor, what does a table then need to look like? So maybe it's defining features. Yeah, so one thing we like to do is, for instance, if we're talking about a desert battle, if you're talking about El Alamein, well, the reality is the vast area of El Alamein is just open, deserty ground. It's undulating. It's got waddies and stuff like that, or it might not have waddies, because it's it might just be literally vast tract of gently undulating sand/rocky ground. But that can be a little bit boring, especially if it needs to have visual impact. So what you might need to do is you might need to make it slightly more of a caricature of the actual area, rather than an actual just slice of that ground, if you like. So, say if it was El Alamein, well, in the corner of your board you might have the railway, even though it might have been slightly another kilometre further away, perhaps, than the corner of your board in regards to ground scale might have been. Perhaps you don't want to do that. Perhaps you want it to be completely realistic, but perhaps you do because you want it to be visually impactful, because it might be a game for a participation game at a show or something like that. So it's a good way to do it is to, I guess, make that caricature of your terrain and build up your scenery from that point of view. Size the table, is it going to be feasible? You can't reach from one side of the table across to the other. So how are you going to get access into a 20-foot by 6-foot table? Do you slice it, much like the greatest battle of Waterloo was done, where we have like 6x4 sort of table slices going across, and you can walk down in between? Do you have is there a waterway, for instance, a lake that can be actually a hole in the table that people can pop up and come up on, to move the models around, because you've got like sort of a square shape of your tables? I don't know, but all these things are things that you need to work out when you're talking about your scenario.
I think your description of a caricature, my word was abstraction, but I think your word of caricature actually works better. So in a caricature, you have, if you've got a slightly big nose, when you get your caricature drawn at the fair or whatever, they draw you a huge hooter. And if you've got very little hair, they draw you with no hair or one spiky bit of hair. I think that's the thing with the game too, is you accentuate the features that are archetypical for the situation, for the terrain, and then obviously make the features that are important to the terrain prominent, and don't worry too much about the actual ground scale. For a 28mm game, if you're playing 15mm or 12mm or 6mm or whatever, well, then you've got room on battlefield to actually have things more accurate. And then
Yep.
some of the other problems become, like what I mentioned before, is actually moving across the table. It's such vast distances. We started here and we had to get to there, and it took us 90% of the game to get to there, and that was the point of friction. Whereas 28mm, we have to introduce different points of friction.
Yep. And I think those are real beauties of smaller scales, that you can fit in some more of that probably real ground undulation, I should say. But yeah, you're right. I mean, if you've got a piece of dead ground, a waddy or something like that, there's an important FUP or forming up point for an attack. Well, it really needs to be on there. You can't probably do a battle based on that without that ability to be there, to hide the troops in there to execute that. Otherwise, you're probably focused on a completely different crux point, or a completely different testing factor for that battle that didn't involve, I guess, the troops visually being out of sight there in the FUP. So, yeah, it's that caricature or the abstraction that's going to be important. And, it's going to talk about, is your terrain going to need to be sculpted then, or is it going to be modular? Which one's going to achieve your aim, and how are you going to transport them, store them, get them to the venue for your guys' big club game, and all those sorts of things? Isn't that right, Rex?
It is. I think that's one of the advantages of the scenario versus the, just the casual game, is that you have the ability and really nearly the requirement to actually create proper terrain. I mean, you reuse other things, but if you need an embankment that has, that guys can form up behind, like what you're just talking about, and you don't have one, well, then you've got to work out how to have one. If there's an impassable, vertical face at the front of that terrain feature that prevents people coming up over the top, well, then you've got to have that. Otherwise, people will just take the shortcut and all of a sudden it'll be a different kind of a game. And that's one of the things that you and I both really love, is that we're big terrain guys, and we love building terrain, and we love the idea of working out a scenario or getting a scenario and actually building over time, over sometimes a long period of time, the terrain that's required to actually achieve the suspension of disbelief to allow us to play through that scenario. And that's not everybody's cup of tea, but that's what we love, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah, for sure. Because if you haven't constructed those pieces of terrain, well, then you can't put them on the table, and it's not going to adequately challenge the players, given the command challenges that you probably want to replicate in that scenario. If you don't have that ground in there, then how can your players think about or consider any type of challenges in the same way that the commander on that ground faced on that day, on that battle? Because they really don't have to factor in the way that their troops can move. They can move much more freely than if they had that cliff face there, can't they?
Yep, that's right. Now, I've never played American Civil War or some of the other conflicts around that time, but I know that a lot of the guys that are passionate about that, they really reenact the battlefields for that period. They really have accurate battlefields and accurate ground scale, and that's their thing, and they replay the battles as if to say, well, if whoever had done something different, how would it have panned out? And to do that, if you want to start going into that kind of thing, it doesn't have to be serious, and you don't have to be a scholar for it, but just to have a bit of fun. Do you think that that they could have broken out from this encirclement if they had broken out earlier before the other troops arrived? Well, yes, maybe, but these large impassable areas probably made it blah blah blah. So yeah, it's just another challenge, another spoke in your wheel of things that can get you excited and get you thinking.
Absolutely. All right, and the last thing that I would probably say to people who are thinking out their scenario, without and remember our delve this time's not gone into mechanics, it's gone into considerations. So the last one I would say is write your ideas down in your notebook, Because every wargamer should have a notebook for painting recipes and scenario ideas and battles fought and won and all those sort of good ideas. So write it in there and then close it up and then put it on the shelf and then just ruminate on it for a while and think about things. And while you're doing that, question things. And I'll tell you why I found this useful, because when we was doing the assault on Johnny 1 scenario, and it was a challenge for me to think about exactly how big the battlefield was going to be and how we were going to achieve this. And then when I had a look at it, I realized that actually that the attack was mainly on Johnny 1 was the most important part of the attack, and it was only on that specific slope or those sides of the slope. So we actually managed to almost quarter the feature, and we have like a quarter of the feature on our table for Johnny 1, don't we, Rex?
Yeah, that's right. And to do anything else would have been unrealistically large, and we probably wouldn't have gone ahead with it. So the fact that we just were able to pare it down to the key actions meant that the whole thing was feasible versus infeasible in the first place.
That's right. So it's that caricature of the ground, taking that, considering what part of that engagement was the most important, and that became even more important because that was the direction in which the Fallschirmjäger did the follow-up assault against Johnny 1 when the Paras held it. So that became our focus, our focal point, and we recreated, thanks to Rex's great sculpting, that part of the hill, and it made it a playable and enjoyable scenario that we could share with you all at home.
So good and playable that it was a finalist in the best after action battle report for the awards for Little Wars TV this year. So If you haven't seen it, have a look in the show notes, which will be valhallagames.net/EP21. And then all lowercase, that is, and then in there I'll put the show notes to this event, which probably won't be a lot, but it'll have the link to that YouTube video and you can see what we're talking about.
Sounds good. All right, Rex. Well, hopefully we'll share that with people at home. I'm going to take a break now. You do the same, and we'll come back and we'll talk about some other stuff.
Sounds good. You got me excited, though. A couple of scenarios have come to mind just while we've been chatting. I've been making notes, and more scenarios coming to a notebook near you.
Right, let's take a break. See you soon.
All right, back in a second. All right, welcome back. I hope you got a drink, Dan. You back with us?
Yeah, I got a drink.
Sorry.
Can you hear me?
I can sort of hear you. You're really muffled. Dan, give me a couple of loud Rogers.
Hang on. Oh, can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now. What's going on?
Oh, sorry, I was wearing my Bold Action Juggernaut COVID-19 face mask the guy sent me. Man, that thing's great. I don't get too many chances to wear it because we're pretty COVID-free here in New Zealand, but we do have to wear it at certain times. But I just thought I'd try it out. But
well, that's good because there's lots of COVID in the world. So if we're speaking on a podcast, which is a worldwide thing, then we should definitely be protecting ourselves.
Absolutely, I don't want to catch it.
That's right.
But thanks very much to Toph and Dan and Spurley and Pete. That was really great for me to be able to win that. You guys send it all the way to New Zealand for me, and I shall wear it with pride when I go to various activities which we do have to wear them for here in New Zealand.
Yep, good on you, Juggernauts, and thanks very much for your content again. I hope you guys are actually getting out and playing something now. I don't know what the situation is in the UK, but we'll wish you all the best, and we hope to hear from you via the sound waves sometime soon.
Hey, Rex, while we're talking about stuff we're lusting about, I just wanted to throw a shout out for Kapiti Hobbies. So Kapiti Hobbies located on Kapiti Coast, north of Wellington, here in New Zealand. And in no way are they a sponsor, anything like that. I just wanted to say the fantastic service I've been getting from them. Everyone else I've spoken to has also had fantastic service from them. The quantity of stock that they've had has been fantastic. Really good stock flow, much better than Mighty Ape. and they've been comparing their prices to Mighty Ape as much as they can. They also do other brands like Rubicon, they do Games Workshop, they do Vallejo paints, stuff like that. So just really wanted to say to people, if you haven't had a chance to check out Kapiti Hobbies, get on there, check it out, and don't hesitate to give the guys a call or something like that if you've got any questions. They're a really good bunch, and hopefully enjoy your shopping with them.
Sounds good. Yeah, I know that you're their new best friend. They'll be you'll be financing their next the next car or whatever they're planning to buy next.
No, one wheel hub or something.
Yep. Two things I wanted to just shout out for. One is Battlefield Accessories, Australian company, battlefieldaccessories.com.au, have sent me some MDF terrain to review.
Ooh,
so
nice.
I've got it out of the packet, and I've partly finished videoing a review for YouTube. That's valhallagames.net/YouTube. It is amazing. You've got MDF and this MDF and that MDF and this MDF. These guys have done something that's really, really special. So I won't spoil the effect for when I come. But yeah, if you wanted to check them out, and I probably should apologise for how long it's taken me to actually get it out of the pack and get it going for the guys. But if you want to jumpstart that, go and have a look at battlefieldaccessories.com.au. Great stuff, amazing stuff.
No, I'll check some more of that out because I saw some of your pictures and the stuff is amazing.
Yeah, it's really good, and new technology that I've not seen before in MDF. So very exciting, very exciting. And the other thing is, Dan, I've got a gift here for you, not from me this time, but from someone else. It's from Akhtar Giraffe, well-known Australian Bold Action Australia, New Zealand guy.
Wargame, terrain maker, guy,
and,
awesome community member. Really? He sent me something.
He sent you something, yeah. It's in my hand. So if you're lucky, I might send it on to you.
Oh my gosh, that's so kind. Akhtar, thank you so much.
All right. If
I
you're
don't
lucky.
know is it big? Is it small? I hope it's not big. Akhtar, I hope you didn't spend money on stuff for me.
It's really nice. It's small. It's about 28 millimeters, I'd say.
Oh.
That's just the right scale.
Just my type of size. Yep,
God's
fantastic.
own scale.
Oh no. Oh, cat amongst the pigeons. Oh, thank you so much. That's I'm looking forward to seeing that then. Oh, thanks. So, Rex, let's talk about some other facets of hobby. So, here's one. You're a voracious reader. What have you been reading?
I have been reading, actually. I've been audio reading, as I mentioned in a previous podcast, where my ebook reader reads it to me. So I go to the gym because I'm such a fit guy, Not really. Go to the gym, if I'm driving or whatever, and I just set the ebook reader to play, and it reads. It does a pretty fair effort at sounding realistic. So I've just finished Anthony Beevor's Stalingrad.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. So I'm still on the Stalingrad buzz from when Brian Cook's book came out. Was that like 2 years ago? And I bought my Soviets and I painted my Soviets. I'm still painting my Soviets.
That's right, because it was the Fortress Budapest one that really got you into your Soviets, wasn't it? So, and then from there you went into the Stalingrad, and it's sort of it's really it's been an ongoing thing for you.
Yeah, so it's been really great. So I've been listening to Stalingrad. My goodness, what a story that is, and just the horror of it. Some of the stuff is just quite amazing. But I love the way that he I love the way that he writes. I actually thought about trying to get him on the podcast, but he's an older gentleman now, and he's actually been knighted. So I figure that he probably wouldn't want to come on our podcast.
I haven't always found his stuff. I didn't like the book Creech, The Battle and the Resistance, I believe is the exact title. I didn't didn't flick my switch. Berlin's fantastic, but let's face it, it's Stalingrad that's, I guess, kicked off biggest things for him, and it's probably his most well-known book. So I have not read it. I've got it on ebook or something like that myself. So yeah, I must crack it open and read it one day.
One of the things that I really enjoyed about it was, and I don't know if it's his writing style or maybe it's a kind of just a historical writing style, perhaps. Goes through the story, but every now and then he'll just stop and sideline off into something. And he was talking about, in the Kessel, just the bit where the Germans were
the
all
cauldron.
We're all kept together as after the Soviets surrounded them. Hopefully, there's no spoilers here if you haven't heard what happened to Stalingrad. They had no food. Supposedly, the Luftwaffe was supposed to be, promised Hitler that they were going to drop in, so many thousands and thousands of tons of food, and only a small percentage, like a tiny percentage of that actually got dropped in. And, they were dropping in things like, like a whole container full of mustard or pepper or what, I can't remember what it was, but some stupid condiment that you just don't even need. And they would just eating whatever they could find. It's pretty horrific. But then they were talking about when some of the guys were given horse meat, because it was I'm not sure if it got dropped in or killed from animals, but they were given them as a reward because it was a high fat meat they could eat, hopefully keep it going. And there's a couple of stories of these guys were giving them horse meat, and then they'd go down the line and pass it on. By the time they got back, they were dead. And it's something to do with the way the body metabolizes that food after not having any. And they still, to this day, based on that book, which is a few years old, don't entirely understand what was happening. Got a couple of theories, but it was just so interesting. They went off into these side things, and I told my wife about it because she's really into military history. She just lives for it. No, she does not.
She is into physiology and stuff.
She really does not. But she is, she's a physiotherapist, which means she did the same, a couple of years of the same degree as the doctors do, which means she's very interested in that. So I was able to, break out that little.
You're able to have a civil discussion about engaging discussion about military history with your wife. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good, and I just love the way that he's talking about talking about this, and then all of a sudden he'll sidebar out. And talk about women in the military in that time, and the Soviet women and their role that they played and what they did and this and that, and it's those little pieces that I really love. So, if anybody has not read that book, or if you're interested at all, you think you can handle reading a whole book instead of just a 2-page wargaming scenario, which is probably what the most of us read these days. In our business of our lives, Anthony Beevor, Stalingrad, highly recommend it. Really great book.
All right, it's probably time for me to read it, and so that's really good. And have you fitted in any other books or anything like that?
I have been reading again audiobook reading the British and Canadian D-Day sector book from. Select a scenario book from Wargame. That's nowhere near as interesting because when I'm in the gym and I'm pumping my iron, as you do, and it starts going into statistics and just reading those out. It's a bit harder to stop and skip through it and whatever. Doesn't seem to be as much content, I guess, because it's a lot more compressed. You're only talking about a few days around the D-Day period, so you don't get as much of the history in there. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. But I'm looking for a new book now. So if you got suggestions, I actually just bought Anthony Beevor's Crete. So thanks for ruining that for me. That's good.
Okay. All right. Well, enjoy that.
I bought it for like $3 on an ebook sale, so it's not the end of the world.
Can it go wrong? All right. So what have I been reading then? He says moving on, so we don't talk about the Crete one anymore. So I have been reading less military history books at the moment. I've been reading some, I guess, actual military books on maneuver warfare and stuff like that, which I won't get into here. But I guess hobby-wise, I've been looking at a few different things. I got off Trade Me, which again is our sort of second-hand sort of sales site like Craigslist, I guess, or a Gumtree or something like that. I got
eBay for Kiwis.
eBay, yeah, that's right. So I got on there some of the Painting War series of literally how to paint your miniatures. And I'm going to do a review of these on YouTube coming up soon, so I won't go into them too much, what my thoughts were. But suffice to say, I've got them, they'll be really useful. And I got the one on German infantry. I've got British Napoleonic, German World War II infantry, British Napoleonics, and I also got American Civil War. So an interesting contrast between the periods and the styles of writing in the book. So I'll look forward to doing a review and share that with people.
Yeah, that guy's does some really great stuff. Do you recall what the author is? Who the author is
so each of those books is done by a different person off the top of my head.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. But let's not do too many spoilers on this at the moment. I'd like to invest that time into the review for our YouTube channel. But that's what I've been doing there, and also reading magazines. I finally found here in Christchurch the probably one place in New Zealand that actually imports and has on the shelf Wargame Soldiers and Strategy. So I got issue 112 of that. Obviously, we're a couple of issues behind here in New Zealand with transit and everything like that, and a giant boat plugging up the Suez Canal. I'm really looking forward, and I am desperate to try and not skip ahead and get the the digital version, but I'm looking forward to issue 114, which is a big Cats issue focusing on the German. The larger Panzer tanks in World War II.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I a couple of days ago you flicked me off a screenshot. The Wargame Soldiers and Strategy, or Cassowary Press, or whatever their parent company is.
Karawansarai, I think it is.
Okay, all right. Got my Australian animals mixed up with my whatever that is. And 50% off, I think it was the first subscription if you're a new customer. So I subscribed for 3 months. See how we go after that. Just to get mainly to get that one particularly, and to get it fast as soon as it finishes. I buy all my magazines. I buy my magazines from a little store just walking distance from where I am. They are Wargame Soldiers and Strategy, so I always go in there and buy from them. As much as anything, just to support them. Like it's just a little shop, you sort of wonder how they stay in business, and they've got quite a good range of not wargaming magazines, but military modelling, a little bit of wargaming, those magazine book things that you get that are quite expensive, that are basically a soft cover book.
Yep, sort of like paint schemes of German and Soviet tanks, Eastern Front, and they're like $45 New Zealand type thing to buy.
Yeah, and history ones as well. D-Day, blah blah blah. It's just got fantastic photos and stuff of D-Day, and it's like a softback thing. So I'll buy some stuff off there just to keep them in business. I don't really read them, to be honest. I just put them on my shelf and then just weep that I don't have time to do that. But soon, Dan. Soon I'll have time. I'm the eternal optimist.
So speaking of things that we buy and we might use at some stage, shall we round out this episode with? Should we do our tribute to Mike Hobbs, and should we call this the Hobby Confessional, Rex?
Yeah. Gosh.
Before we start. Oh no!
Yep.
Are you going to describe Mike Hobbs, and for those who don't know, the passing?
Well, yeah, I'll give a bit of a thing. You can chip in. So Mike Hobbs is a well-known bloke, or was a well-known bloke in UK gaming. He was mainly through his being one of the guests on Meeples and Miniatures for years and years and years and years. Meeples and Miniatures podcast, which is now ended, but one of the a huge podcast that just went on for episodes after episodes after episodes. And just a thoroughly nice guy. Always happy, always with a friendly word, always an encouraging guy, funny. And we just got word via Twitter 3 weeks ago, a month ago, something like that, that he died suddenly. So, yeah, very sad. And I guess we're all going to go, and in this time of COVID and that, it's a tough time for lots of people. And yeah, we just wanted to mention publicly that we thought he was a great guy. We didn't know him. We never got to chat to him. But I didn't anyway. But yeah, what a great guy he was, and we just wanted to put out that we really feel for his family and his. I'm not sure if he has kids or whatever, but I know he was married. And for everybody that knew him, we're sorry for his passing. He was a great kind of influence with me getting started in podcasting and the Meeples and Miniatures with him and Neil Shuck. So yeah, we just wanted to mention that. Did you want to say a couple of things, Dan?
Yeah, look, condolences again to his family and friends, Neil, but so many other wargaming friends have spoken about already. Actually, met him. It's funny how you feel like you know somebody through just the power of the medium of talking to them. So, but those who actually were close to him and stuff like that, our condolences. And I guess one of the things that Meeples and Miniatures covered such a broad spectrum. They weren't always something that I was that interested in, but looking back after it stopped, and I know I mentioned this to you, Rex, one of the things I said is I just missed the enthusiasm and the passion. And one of the things I really enjoyed at the time, sometimes you think, they give a shopping list of what they bought and stuff like that, and sometimes I feel like this has been, and I think this is why it's fell away in our podcast. We talk a bit less about what we bought and stuff, and it, it sort of can sound a wee bit like you've just got a shopping list, as I say, but I think it's a part of our hobby that we're collectors as well. And so let's get into our hobby confessional in memory of Mike.
Yeah, so I've never been to Firestorm Games where Mike lived, but I believe that there was shaky shelves there, and every time he went in, the shelves accidentally shook and stuff fell into his bag, and he had to buy it. I believe that's how it worked. Does that sound about right, Dan?
Yeah.
So what shaky shelves have dropped their wares into your pockets, Dan?
Oh, look, I've bought a few things, because I guess this covers a few months of when I've been away and stuff like that as well. I bought a few things, but also recently, not having the greatest amount of funds, I've actually swapped some things too. But I guess going through what I've got, I bought a couple of 172 scale aircraft, a Fiesler Storch, German reconnaissance plane from World War II. What else have I bought? I bought the new Warlords British and Canadian infantry box set. That's very nice. I bought some Rubicon telephone poles and lights for sort of setting up village scenes or urban scenes as well. I acquired. I got online and I was looking for some different, more obscure maybe miniatures in regards to Last Levy, and so I went on to Westwind Productions and went for their Berlin or Bust range, and I got some Volkssturm, and I got some veteran German campaigners off there as well. Do you see those rather terrible pictures of those they have online, Rex?
Yeah. I'm not really not really noticed Westwind. I mean, I have heard the name, but the stuff that they've got is really quite amazing. And I think some of the these smaller manufacturers, rather than doing a zillion, British Airborne sprues or whatever, plastic, because they're doing small runs, and it's all metals. The diversity is just fantastic, and I think you kind of forget all of a sudden, and then you realise, oh wow, look at the different things, and I should buy some of those. And you get real excited, and then you end up really broke.
Yeah, that's what happens. And so I bought some of those, and again, I intend to reveal them on YouTube at some stage, and I'll do a bit of a review. The size of them is a bit variable. So anything you see on Westwind that's got a more modern, clearer picture with like a white background and their logo on it, that tends to be a little bit more heroic scale.
Like artisan sort of size?
No, a little bit smaller than that, but more those sort of proportions. Yeah. But the stuff that's got like a black background and the pictures tend to be not to be very good. It's actually quite hard to see what you're going to get, to be honest. Westwind, please take note. That stuff is, it's quite small. So some people have referred to as more like 25mm. I'd say it's comparable probably to Offensive Miniatures 156 true scale. So it's variable. What I did do is I built up the bases on the smaller ones, so they're sort of around the same height, and that takes care of a lot of the it fools the eye quite a lot. So I'm happy still about what I bought. There is some, I guess, less. Yeah, less.
Well, Dan's being very careful about what he's saying
good
here.
sculpts
I'm waiting for
in
it.
a couple of the packs that are the older ones. I guess they show their. I don't know whether their sculptors have been with them a long time, or if they do their own sculpting and their skills have progressed. But I definitely see a lot more things like folds in the fabric and stuff like that. That is a mark of, a really well sculpted miniature. A lot of that's missing on the ones such as the Volkssturm, and the new ones are a lot different, a lot more higher standard.
Yeah. Okay.
Other things I got a bargain sale for 2 or 3 bits of German armour off Trade Me, and I also exchanged some German Grenadiers because I had so many frames of them, so many sprues of those Warlord ones, for a chap in a place in Nelson in New Zealand for a Deutsches Afrika Korps. I think I got 31 artisan miniatures, all sort of what I'd call loosely base coated, sort of standard, from them for just exchanging miniatures. So that was good. Didn't have to pay for them.
Wow, yeah, that's cool.
And that's about takes me up to where I sort of am now. I've got lots of things I'm looking at, and I go, "Oh, that'd be great." But yeah, what about you, Rex?
Well, apart from about a zillion kilograms worth of 3D printed terrain and models and all that, which we've already talked about, I also got a 172 aircraft for playing air attacks and bolt action. I got ME109 and a Spitfire. Got them on eBay for $3 each.
Nice.
Dodgy plastic things. They come on a sprue still, and they're painted. Weirdly, they're painted, and they got stickers on them on a sprue. And I said to them, "Do you have them unpainted?" No. So yeah, some.
Oh, that saves some time.
Cheap Chinese thing. So yeah, I don't know. I think the paint job's going to need to be redone, but I thought it'd be good to just grab them $3 or $4 each, and then put them together and see what they look like. So that'll be cool. I bought a Frames of War rulebook off eBay.
Right, yes.
Another one. I already got one, but I wanted another one. So yeah, that's an open-ended statement, isn't it?
So you must have bought one to psychologically encourage me to buy Flames of War.
Yeah.
It might have
I
worked
know you have
because I
bought some-
actually forgot to mention this.
Yeah, you left that off. Yeah.
So I bought some Flames of War British Paras. Oh, it's a hard habit to break. And I also got a American Army Rifle Company.
I didn't know about the American Army Rifle Company. It's growing.
Yeah, I didn't tell you that.
So would you just like to put your decree about 1/100 scale on? Would you like to put that in writing / on the podcast?
Well, like all scales, we're never swearing we're not going to do it, but
Oh, now he's gone back. He's gone back. Yes, okay.
I actually confess that I've always liked the tanks. It's the and vehicles. It's the miniatures that I find a little bit weird, and I find it an odd place. That is it easy to paint because they're smaller, or are they easy to paint because they're bigger? I think they're sort of in between, and actually probably not easier at all because they're big enough that you can see the detail. You're not just, you're painting detail as opposed to painting the miniature. You're painting the miniature instead of painting the unit, like the people say about 6 mil.
So you're trying to paint them like a 28.
Yeah. So they're big enough so you can get
that's really
sucked into that, but not small enough so you can just paint the unit. So it's an odd place. It's an odd scale, but.
So Dan said to me that he will not be doing 1/100 scale. At which point, shortly afterwards, he went out and bought 1/100 scale. So we'll see.
I did buy the American Rifle Company after I made that statement, but that was because it was $30 New Zealand for the whole thing when it's brand new in the box.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, well, I am. One of the things that's put me off buying that, and this is not meant to be a huge. I'll try not to digress too much, Dan, but keeping terrain in 2 scales is a bit of a pain, and that's what's really put me off. But now I can just print whatever I want at the press of a button. It's really opened up possibilities. So yeah, I'm starting to print. I'm starting to print American Civil War in 15 mil, and I'm also going to be printing World War II in 15 mil as well. And then of course I've got to buy the miniatures to suit that. But anyway, I digress. I bought the O Group rules. Through the parent company
Rice
of
Press.
Two Fat Lardies. Yep. So that's would be suitable for 15 mil 1/100 scale.
So the sister company. Actually, I think they run parallel. Yeah. Yep.
All right. So I bought the rules and had a good read through them. It's quite interesting. Sort of a cross between bolt action. And it's got a lot of stuff with bolt, similar things to bolt action, but it's got other components from other games as well. There's a game called Iron Cross that I love, and I love the activation system in it. So you get a certain number of chips, and that's your orders, and you can order, and you can use them all now if you want, or you can hold them over for later. And I really love that, and it really means command decisions. You're really making decisions, actively making decisions about what's happening, rather than just, there's some guys, I'm going to shoot them kind of thing. So that was, I bought that. I also bought something too, Dan, that I don't think I've told you yet. I managed to find the Stalingrad Special Edition, Stalingrad book, Wall of Games book, Special Edition. Actually, it's not the book, sorry, it's the kit. The Stalingrad boxed battle set sniper.
Oh,
the one where the
spotter's holding up the mannequin with the Soviet uniform on it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. So I got that. Yeah. So that was really great. I didn't have to spend $400 to get it. So.
You're starting to make it look as if mine was a bad deal.
No, because you can never have too many Soviets.
No, that's great. Yeah. That's great because you were really keen to. You loved that miniature. We both loved it, and it was in our. It was both in our. No, I forgot to mention it, but it was in your top miniature of the year last year.
Yes, that's right. It was too. Forgotten
Yep.
that. Yeah. Well, I've been lusting after it ever since, and I finally got it, and it's in the box with all the other unpainted miniatures. But someday soon, I'm thinking once I get the paints out for Soviets, I might as well head down to War and Peace Games and get the new Soviet dog squad.
Oh, the anti-tank squad. It's got one of each.
It's got
an implement, I think, the anti-tank rifle and the dog squad members. Yeah.
Yep. So I'll be definitely getting that, and while I'm there, I might as well get those other guys as well. There's Scouts, is it?
Oh, there's Airborne, and there's NKVD. What else? Ooh, I feel like there's another one I'm forgetting, but yeah, the Airborne guys are great.
Yep. So I might as well get all those once I've got, when I got the paint out. So yeah, might as well do that. So how have we somehow moved from what you're purchasing into what you're lusting? Because
Mike and Neil would be proud of us.
They would. Yeah.
We haven't.
Well, while we're lusting, then we weren't going to do this, but British infantry I've got on my list. Some of those Westwind things after you sold me on that crack cocaine. Thanks very much.
Well, you know the secret now. You know the secret about the scale now.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Offensive miniatures. I seriously have to do an offensive miniatures order. I want tank riders, lots of tank riders, all kinds of tank riders. I love them. They are just amazing. After seeing yours, I can't wait to get them. Just got to bulk up enough of an order to make it worthwhile for freight.
Yep.
And then the other day too, somebody was saying, "Oh, I need some civilians and blah blah blah." And I said, "Oh, have you had a look at Bad Squiddo Games, the dice lady?" And I thought, oh, maybe they do, maybe they don't. And so I had to go on to check then to see whether my Facebook advice had been valid. And while I was on there, I was like, oh, I got to get some of these. Oh, I've got to. Got to get those for Project X, I believe.
Yeah,
it's just somewhat on the back burner.
And did you check out the civilians as well on First Corps that I sent you the link to?
No. All right, I'm adding them to my list right now.
So go to First Corps, and then under British, so World War II, then British, and then I think it's the Home Front or something like that. Sorry, it's 20th century, and then it's Home Front, I think, and then you find guys like Naffy, Caravan, and dudes. You find like about 15 civilians all sort of packed, ready to leave town, be sort of to migrate away from the wars and stuff, be refugees. There's vehicles there with like carts and cars with like possessions on top and stuff like that.
So you said Home Front. That's a bit ambiguous. Are they British or are they?
So they are British. So hang on, let me. I'll tell you what I'm going to using the Hong Kong Powers of Kung Fu that I have. I'm going to go online right now, Rex. I'm going to find it. First Corps.
Tick, 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 tick.
Civilians.
No pressure.
Civilians, First Corps. Here it comes. I'm fast. I'm good.
Because one of the things that I've been looking at, I also bought the Soviet one, and I'm also going to be buying the Atlantic miniatures. Is it the box set, the plastic ones?
Wargames Atlantic. Yeah, that's the one.
Wargames Atlantic. Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to be fully civilianed up.
Nice.
Before long. So
just to be precise, if you go to First Corps, and then you go from their homepage, you go 20th century, then World War II, then Home Front, and then on page 2, some nice cars start. And then on page 3, we get refugee cars and stuff like that. You get collaborators, believe it or not. You get civilians or refugees. You get a runaway couple that looks suspiciously like Bonnie and Clyde, perhaps. There's some fantastic vehicles in there. I tell you what, Rex, there is a light utility car on here that looks a bit like an Austin Tilly or something like that. And it would make a fantastic vehicle for the Eagle Has Landed.
All right, okay. Yeah, I saw a scenario on War Games website for that. Yep, Eagle Has Landed, one of my favourite movies.
Yeah. So there you go. That's where you find them. And lusting after, for me, I'm not really lusting after anything. I've got pretty much everything I need here now to carry on for quite some time. And the thing I'm lusting after is just getting my hands on that fantastic terrain that you've made for me.
Yep. I'd be lusting after it too if it were me. But I've only got 6 more pieces at 12 hours each, and then it'll be on its way.
Bargain. All right.
Well, I think that's enough, Dan. I feel a bit funny. I feel a bit sort of, edgy now. I don't know whether I should be running and buying something, or whether I should be painting something, or whether I should be playing some games, or what. But either way, I'm glad you're back. I'm sorry you got injured, but it's worked well for me, so I don't care.
Yeah, hey, there's worse things to come back to than our family and friends and loved ones, and also looking after and conversing with the people on these great wargame sites. And speaking of that, thank you very much for our people who nominated us to Little Wars TV and the Caesar Awards, and congratulations to the winners. We didn't win the category that we were shortlisted for, which was the best after-action review or battle report, I guess some people might call it. But well done to Project Wargaming, who did win that category. It was a great job, and well done everybody else who was shortlisted and or won for the Caesar Awards. And thank you, Little Wars. And look, the standard of things is just going to get driven upwards and onwards the more we do this, and we're looking forward to creating some content again this year and the remainder of this year that hopefully gets us nomination for next year's Caesar Awards.
Yeah, well, we're actively looking towards that, actually. It's funny how I'm not really the competitive type, to be honest, but as soon as someone says, do you want to win this? It does flick a switch. But just the thing of just improving it, I'm looking at those guys, the guys that won. I mean, it was just fantastic, the stuff that they'd done. And I mean, I was really happy with ours as well. But when I look at theirs and I look at ours and I look at and I think about all the things that I've had in the back of my mind for ages, I'm really looking forward to making our battle reports better. We have better tech now. We have better skills. So I'm looking forward to not the normal battle reports that we do when we just hang out with a couple of mates and all that, but when we do a serious one, like when we get together, Dan, I'm looking forward to really upping our game.
Yeah, I am too, and thanks to our patrons for giving us a few bob and keeping us in sort of equipment and stuff to help bring us greater quality production, both here on the podcast and on YouTube. So if anyone wants to I guess, be a patron for us, then go onto Patreon. You can go in there from our homepage, our website. But this is not an advertisement. This is just to say thank you to everyone doing that. And I think I was just mostly just glad that due to your hard work, production-wise and stuff, that we'd got nominated. I mean, nobody who nominated or won this year, because the Caesar Awards didn't exist when they did that work, was trying to win anything. So I'm looking forward to seeing what now that we've put a cat amongst the pigeons, what people come up with for next year.
Yeah, and the silver lining in the whole of that, Dan, is that now Rick Priestley and Guy Bowers and all those famous people, they've seen our Valhalla Games Battle for Johnny 1.
Yeah, nice. And hopefully we've taken a little bit of history and delivered it to people who didn't know about it before, and people might have been interested and looked that up now.
That's my point, is that they'll be so much richer for that experience. Yeah. All right, Dan. Well, I think that's about it for now. I enjoyed having you back. I hope everybody's enjoying the podcast. We've got lots more content coming up soon. We have lots and lots and lots of video content that's ready to go, ready to edit, ready to put up. So keep an eye on the YouTube channel, because that'll start to flow out soon once my current workload has subsided a little bit. And we'll be looking forward to talking to you again real soon.
Absolutely. I look forward to that. Say goodnight, Rex.
Good night, Dan.
Good night, Rex. Stay classy, everyone.
cheerio, here I go on my way. Wish me luck as you wave me goodbye. With a cheer, not a tear, make it gay. Give me a smile I can keep all the while in my heart while I'm away. Till we meet once again, you and